Let's talk about GOAT announcing that he has one more show of electrifying college football fans around the entire globe. I've had the opportunity, obviously, to work alongside him the last few years, but obviously I've had the opportunity to watch him do his thing on television for the better part of the last 40 years or whatever the case is. However, I think it's 40 years is how long they're saying he's been with ESPN. Lee Corso has announced he's retiring after week one. He'll be turning 90 in August, and I've said this numerous times. Whenever you watch him at either the production meetings on Friday or on these campuses moving about, he's still got it, still quick, refuses assistance whenever you're talking about steps and everything like that. Obviously, on camera, it's been a little bit different for Coach Corso than it was maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you name it. But he was an energy, he had an aura around him at all times that was just like, hey, how you doing? Keep it moving. And he was a big proponent of it's just entertainment, sweetheart, and he very much understood that. And it's guys like him and Charles Barkley who understand that you're allowed to be entertaining, you're allowed to be funny, you're allowed for the people to enjoy the experience while they're watching and learning about sports. Trailblazer, dog, honored to call him a peer for a couple years here. And the sports world will definitely miss him every single week, but he does have one show left. Can't wait to see what he does. Not so fast, my friend. How many of those will we hear? How many more Ticonderogas will we see doing their thing? How many more gems will be dropped in that one episode? We'll certainly hang on to all of them. And congrats to Lee, changing the game. Changing the game forever. Changing college football forever. Mm-hmm. He is credited by a lot of minds at ESPN who, I know a lot of people get mad at ESPN because of how involved in college football they are. And a lot of people say ESPN has more say than they actually do, but it's an easy thing to say because of how invested ESPN is in college football. But the reason why ESPN is so invested in college football, from my understanding, this is just from being around it and meeting all the people that make all the decisions, they love college football.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely love, obsessed with it. I mean, we talked to Kirk Herbstreit, and obviously he does a great job calling the Thursday night games for Amazon and kicking off every NFL weekend. But you're talking about obsessed with college ball.
Yeah.
Everything about Reese Davis, Chris Fowler, Nick Saban, obviously, is the greatest of all time. Desmond Howard, 20 plus years on College Game Day. The people behind the scenes breathe, sleep, eat college football. I mean, that is just what they are. That is why they're so at the highest of highs at ESPN and Disney. Love college football. And Lee Corso is credited as building that sport and its popularity with his performances not only on game day, but just throughout the college football season, no matter what he's doing, and his speaking engagements and everything. So, you're talking about a guy who was viewed as a GOAT, a guy who was talked about as a GOAT, a guy who acted like a GOAT, I think, for a long time, and a man that'll be missed on television. So change the sport, change the business, change the trajectory, change everybody's life that he's around. So I think that'd be a job well done if you were to kind of speak about a human and his existence and his profession on television, speaking into a microphone.
Well, think of all the people that legit just waited around to see Lee put the mascot head on. Hey, who is Coach going to pick this week? And yeah, I mean, as far as I can remember as a kid, I remember Lee Corso on TV and checking out Saturday, turning on Game Day, seeing whatever he is doing. And the dude is an absolute entertainer. That's what I love about him. He came and spoke at my high school years ago with Kirk, and Lee was off the charts. You talk about energy, man. He took the stage and just lit the whole room on fire. They wouldn't have him back every single year, but unfortunately, Lee has those all around the country. He's doing it. But yeah, what an absolute legend, man.
They put out a couple of graphics about Coach Corso. Coach Corso, by the numbers, 430 mascot headgear picks. Okay, which, to your point, became the show.
Yeah.
That is what that's what the whole show is leading up to, is the headgear. 69 different teams have been picked. Most headgear selections by team. Oregon's been picked 21 times.
Wow.
Shout out to the Duck. Wow. Loves the Duck. Florida's been picked 22 times. LSU, hey, oh, great place down there in Bayou, 25 times. Alabama, Roll Tide, 38 times.
No way.
The Ohio State Buckeyes.
Where it all started, by the way.
Brutus, 45 times selected. So whenever you hear AJ talk about it, I love this guy. People of Ohio, absolutely. Everybody does, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, what a showman. An absolute showman through and through. And I think there's some people, very young, that won't get the entire Lee Corso experience over the last 5 years, I'd say, or whatever, 3 years, whatever the case be. But you're talking about one of the quickest guys on television. and the history. So let alone coaching and how much his players love him, let alone being an entertainer. But when you're talking about just brain, wit, quickness, you're talking about one of the best of all time, Ty.
Yeah, I mean, and now the cool part is like we're seeing all the clips, like the best of. It's like, you know, and like AJ said, like it's very rare now when you get to be around our age. Like he has been a part of Game Day for my entire life.
Me
like,
too.
Yeah, when I started watching Game Day, he was there the entire time. And for like what we do in sports media in general, like that's just very rare. I don't think we're going to have very many instances where you look at a show that you watched your entire life up to like now when you have kids and everything, and it's the same mainstays on there. Like, I don't know how often that'll happen again.
It's a comforting feeling knowing that
Without a doubt.
what's going to be there. Lee Corso is going to be there. Kirk Herbstreit, obviously, as well. And Coach Corso gave Herbie a nice shout out in his retirement letter. Last year, watching them have a few moments together, that was obviously very emotional for all parties. The people behind the scenes at Game Day have been there a long, long time too. A lot of them. Now, granted, there's new people that come in to the crew, but you're talking about like 30-some years, some people working back there. So whenever you talk about Lee Corso, they've seen Lee Corso be and do everything that he's done for a long time. Those people love ball, love College Game Day. I think some of them did not necessarily love the addition of old Pat McAfee, but I think obviously I have massive respect for them, and I think I've maybe earned theirs as well over the years. But it's like watching Lee kind of work a room too, just you know, just always up, sitting down. And when he was losing his hearing there, obviously a little bit at the end, and we'd be in a production meeting, and something would get brought up, he wouldn't know what was going on. Then he'd be reminded, and that you think the topic was over, and then he would be informed on what's going on, and then he would drop just a fucking nuke in the middle of it. It's like, oh yeah, still got it. My man. Yeah, absolutely. So age obviously catches up with everybody, but what he was able to do throughout the entirety of it, he's going to be 90 still on television.
Yeah, crazy.
Insane.
That's a wild thought. Congrats to Lee.
Yeah, and I feel like he even had a lot of great moments over these last few years. Like, I forget what it was with Kirk, but if it was his 500 show or what exactly it was, but they had that moment too where, you know, even Kirk talked about it.
500th headgear?
Yeah, was it his 500th headgear? I forget.
600? What was the number?
I thought it was like 500th something.
So maybe it was the 400th?
400th?
I don't know.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but it, like I remember that scene, you know, of them two together, and you know Lee was obviously very thankful, and then you know even him going back to certain places that he's been at, like the return, and him being honored at multiple. I mean, Indiana this year, you know, that his entire team from that time when he was coaching those
79,
guys.
I think he was coaching.
Yeah, 79, and then you know Belichick when Belichick was on last year at
that was
Army
really cool.
Navy, and Bill was talking about, you know, like I remember when you were coaching with, you know, his Bill's dad, yeah, and things like that. I feel like are really cool to kind of relive over these last few years. So hats off to him.
Is he still going to be working at Ticonderoga, I wonder?
I would assume.
So.
I don't know if that's a rib that people tell me, like the Game Day people, but he had like full-time job at Ticonderoga.
Really?
I think, from what I've been told. Like calling people, let me tell you about these Ticonderoga.
Like a salesman? Like he's cold calling people?
Like,
Yeah, leading salesman for
I don't know if
30
he was a
years.
salesman or if like Ticonderoga asked him to make calls or stuff because, you know, he always had the pencil when he was talking. But yeah, I think he had a very, like an actual, like worked for Ticonderoga. I think he worked for Ticonderoga from what I've been told. Now, they might be ribbing me though. So that's why
I would assume they're going to retain. He'll stay with them.
Has to.
Yeah.
Has to. That number 2 pencil won't be a number 2 without Lee.
No. Sam Roberts, con man.
Need a Corso edition.
Huge for college ball, though, and I think that is something that I don't think is said about Lee. Is like they give him credit for building the sport and being a part of the development of college football. Just he's a pillar of the sport is kind of how he's viewed by a lot of people that are in the conferences, people that are at the schools, people that are at ESPN, college football playoff people. I mean, like everybody's like, hey, this guy helped elevate this sport entirely over the last 40 years. So everybody is a massive fan of his.
Well, there was a period of time where I think he was the most popular person in sports media. Like I don't think that could be argued. There was that time period, and then like you talked about it, where he was like, it's all about the entertainment. He was like one of those first people who weren't just spitting out facts and just talking as serious as they possibly can. It was making it fun and lively and actually entertaining. And yeah, Lee is like Ty said, that was all I thought when I first saw the clips coming out again. You know, the one where he throws the headgear and goes, fuck it.
Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. Like there was no one else doing that on air and making people laugh. Like he actually got like pops from people on TV, which was awesome. But yeah, Lee's a goat.
And I would like to finish up with saying Lee could have very easily been mean to me, because of what I am, who I am, how I operate. I pull a lot of inspo from guys like Lee and Charles Barkley and a lot of professional wrestlers and everything like that. The way I speak and my energy and the way I talk, it's like I'm not a news journalist like a lot of people are in sports world. I'm trying to let's have a good time here. He was you look at the South Dakota State, the first time I did it, Lee sitting right next to me. And you see him go oh, I did not. And then after that show, very kind to me, very nice to me, very complimentary. And throughout the entirety, he's been very cool to me. So I'm very thankful for Lee. And good luck in retirement, man. I hope you enjoy fall. I hope you get a chance to go see some games. I hope you get a chance to go do whatever the hell you want to do. And happy early 90th birthday and happy retirement from all of us. You're the man, Lee.
Oh, yeah, Coach.